In this video, I'm going to go through how to use the two simulations that you'll need to use if you're doing the Simple Harmonic Motion Labs online. The first simulation is the masses and springs simulation, and this will be used for the first two parts of the lab, so the Hooke's law part and then the period of a spring part. And the second one is what's called pendulum lab, and that'll be used for the third part, which is the period of the pendulum part. And I have the two links linked in to Schoology right here. There will be this video after this when this gets done and uploaded. So the first one, masses and springs basics. If I click the button to enter the simulation, what I'm interested in doing is the lab portion. So I can click on that, and then I can put a weight on the spring and then hit stop. Two of the things that I'm going to need, one is my ruler, so I'm going to get my ruler out, and the other one is my stopwatch. I need the ruler for the first part and the stopwatch for the second part. So in the first part, what you're doing is you're varying the mass that's hanging on here, and you can do that here, and seeing how that changes how much the spring is stretched. If the spring starts to bounce like this, you can just hit stop, and then it stops bouncing. So you can stick the ruler up here, and then measure length of the spring. The way I would measure it is I would try to measure it down to where the end of the spring is here, since when I vary the mass, you notice the size of that mass also changes in there. I would not mess around with spring strength here. If you do change that, it's going to change that value of K from small to large. I would just pick a value and leave it there for the remainder of the experiment. So the Hooke's law experiment, I'm measuring distance using the ruler and then mass using here. In the second part of that lab, I'm doing period versus mass. And the way to get this to start to bounce up and down is to pull it down a little bit and then let it bounce. And then I can click start and then count my different cycles. And when I'm done with my 10 cycles, I would hit stop, and there's my period of 10 cycles that I would enter into the lab handout. The second of these simulations is what's called the pendulum lab, and this one I'll be using for the third part of this lab. We're talking about period of a pendulum. And so here I'd hit click start. I'm just going to go to intro in this one because it has everything that I need. And some of the things that I can vary the length of my pendulum, both this way. I could also go in between 10 centimeter marks if I wanted to. I could vary the mass on there if I wanted to. I don't ask you to vary the mass, but you could. It is possible to change the gravity. So if I wanted to see what would happen on the moon, I could do that versus Earth. For here, I would just use Earth because I'm asking you to compare the acceleration of gravity you get using the pendulum to the pendulum of the Earth. And then the other thing I need is my stopwatch. And if I click stopwatch over there, it pulls my stopwatch up. So what I do in this one is I pull my pendulum back a little bit, I let it swing, I click start, I count my 10 cycles or 10 periods, I hit stop, and that's the data that I would need for period. So I'm going to be recording period of 10 cycles, and then the length, and then varying the length to see how that changes the period. Again, if I wanted to stop the swing, if I hit the stop sign, it stops swinging. So those are the two simulations you would need to use if you're doing this in the online format.